funny thing is, it's like, I can be anxious in my pedestrian day-to-day life out there because I don't know what's happening. But it's like, once you're in rehearsals or once you're on stage, you have the routine, you know? And it's like, things might change. Variation is always there, and that's the fun bit. But it's kind of like the parameters are more contained. So you're kind of just like, and you have this, or at least I feel this kind of like stillness in me. Even if I'm in front of people, the panic happens before I walk through the, curtains or wings or whatever it is. And then once I'm there, it actually is calming. As a graduate, you don't get much of a chance. If I'd stayed on my student visa, I wouldn't have even been able to come back for graduation. So that's how quickly they want to kind of grab your cash and kick you out. 9:30 p.m., you could be going to a war, literally going to a war in the theater. Or like killing your children, or like whatever it is, like these extreme situations that we come up with. And then the curtain goes down, and at like 9:45, you're in the bar. She's like, "Oh, hey man, how's it going? Nice to see you."
Hi, I'm Suzy Wrong, and this is the Here We Are podcast, where you can catch me having seriously fun chit-chats with my friends in the theatre business. Today, we're shining the spotlight on Shiv Palekar. We speak to you from unceded Gadigal lands of the Eora Nation, better known by its colonial name of Sydney. This podcast is brought to you by Here We Are, created specifically for people who love theatre, whether you're a practitioner or an avid audience member. Here We Are is a new social media alternative that allows us to share our passions for the theatre in a digital space designed by people who devote their lives to the arts, as distinct from the billionaire tech companies who clearly don't care very much about us. Is it scary? Is the anxiety kind of taking over?
Like I said, it's always there. So, this is as good a time as any.
What is it like?
To be anxious?
Yeah.
To have anxiety? I don't know. It's
So like when people say they're nervous, that's what it is.
I suppose so, but it's also the fear that something can and will go wrong. Even for me anyway. I'm sure it's different for other people, but yeah, I guess mine presents its way of like, it's unsafe, or like something crazy is going to happen.
And you've always had that?
I think so. Or it's like come on more in my kind of mid-20s or something. Yeah.
And then how did you come to identifying it? In like a diagnosis, is that what it is?
Yeah, a diagnosis. I mean, I went to therapy. As that's probably the most direct way to name it, contain it, and then know what it is and how to deal with it.
So you went to seek help because you knew that something wasn't right.
Yeah, I'd had a pretty like tumultuous 20s. Yeah, with like especially to do with immigration status in Australia. We could talk heaps more about that later if you'd like. But yeah, it was a very uncertain decade. While trying to juggle work, while trying to juggle a relationship, while trying to just understand what it is to be in the world, and then also while having anxiety, I suppose.
That makes me think it's a really interesting match between having this anxiety in your personality and then choosing being a performer as a career. Because it's almost like if you don't enjoy it, it's a weird word, but it's almost like if you can't have that part of the job as a daily reality, it's kind of like acting is really not for you because it's always there, isn't it?
Sure, absolutely. But I think also like the funny thing is, it's like I can be anxious in my pedestrian day-to-day life out there because I don't know what's happening. But it's like once you're in rehearsals or once you're on stage, you have the routine, and it's like things might change. Variation is always there, and that's the fun bit. But it's kind of like the parameters are more contained. So you're kind of just like, and you have this, or at least I feel this kind of like stillness in me. Even if I'm in front of people, the panic happens before I walk through the curtains or wings or whatever it is. And then once I'm there, it actually is calming and a really kind of, a very clear headspace.
It almost works the other way for you, I think. Because for people who probably don't have anxiety sort of disorder, kind of that, putting yourself in a position where you have to go out and handle, a couple of hours of just people staring at you, that is pretty scary.
For sure.
But for you, it's almost the other way, huh?
Maybe, yeah. I think
maybe that's why you're drawn to it.
I think so. It's what keeps me coming back. Yeah.
When did you start thinking that this is what you're going to do?
It's a very specific moment, probably around 2008. I was doing a school play in Hong Kong. A company from Brisbane had come to do our school play, which was The Tempest. And I was in year 11. The audition was on a Saturday. My mom was like, "You gotta go." She really wanted me to, there was a yearly musical that would happen in Hong Kong for, I guess, the international school kids or whatever. And I'd go reluctantly, and like I hated singing. I was anxious and I just didn't have a name for it then. But, I'd have this dread that I wouldn't perform my best, and I never really got a role in those musicals. And then this company, which is a physical theatre company, they came to Hong Kong, they're doing a play. Usually the school play has 100, they were only taking 25, and mom was like, "You gotta go, like, go do your best." It was on a Saturday, didn't want to go. I was like, dragged myself there, did the audition, got the role. 3 weeks into like the 4-week rehearsal, I was like, had a moment of like real clarity. And I was like, I think I want to do this forever. And I went home that night when I told my and she was kind of like, like a South Asian parent. She was just like, no. Like, I didn't want you to do this for your job. Like, this is a fun hobby. This is something you do on the side. And I was pretty bloody minded about it. I stuck to my guns and kept going. My stepdad really supported me a lot to campaign my mom to, let me go to drama school and whatnot. And
was that because that moment when you were rehearsing the tempos, you discovered that I can do this better than I can do anything else?
I think so. Or just like I feel alive in a way that I haven't felt before. Like, I love playing music. I used to play drums in my band. I thought that's what I wanted to do. But this was like something else entirely. I was like, I get to step into something. I get to do something that's bigger than me and share it with people. And I think I think I never really thought about it, but I think maybe that was it.
Oh, that's interesting. You brought up the connection bit. The bit kind of like the sociality of it.
Yeah.
Rather than the individual, almost introspective aspect of it, which tends to be a lot of the acting experience, because you're kind of going in a lot. But you also mentioned that thing about
absolutely
being in touch with that side.
Yeah.
Do you still have that same feeling after a couple of decades?
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I still love it just as much as that day, I think. Yeah. And I still feel alive. Like, I don't think I've had a moment where I've been like, I should do something else. You know what I mean? Like, I've
even when you're doing TV.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even then, it's like, I get to do the thing I love. Yeah.
So you had about a year doing Neighbours.
Yes.
The iconic Australian TV soap opera. I'm really curious on that side, because it looks like, on the surface, it looks like, it's like the same art form, but as well, the form, like, the circumstances are so completely different.
Yeah. They're very different.
Yeah, because you're not kind of working on one thing, a 2-hour piece, for example. You're not working on that for a few weeks and yeah. You're always kind of on the fly, figuring out while the cameras are running. Is that quite accurate?
Yeah, I think that is very accurate. I think it's the way I described it to people when I was doing it, it's like puzzle making, because you get the scripts that you're about to work on, but then I guess it's kind of hard to explain the format, but like, so we get the scripts of what we're about to shoot. Say we're on day 0, like we haven't shot anything yet. We get the kind of 5 upcoming episodes, so 1 block, of which some of the scenes are location and some of the scenes are studio. The first week of shooting is all the location scenes from that 5 episodes. The second week is all the studio. But as week 1 ticks over into week 2, we get another 5 scripts.
Is that accurate?
Yeah, and so then we're kind of doing location for 1 block, studio for the other. So you're always like, at any one time, you've kind of got 15 episodes in your head. You're shooting across 10, but you've got the next 5 to kind of, to know where you're going, or to try and guess where you're going.
A different form of creativity.
A very different form. And it was really fun, and at times tricky and difficult, because you really have to take guesses and leaps as to where your character might go, and you do it, and then you get a storyline that's like, goes the other way, and you're like, okay, cool. How do I make this work now?
How long did you take you to get into it? I imagine first day on set must be...
I was terrified. Yeah, absolutely. I was terrified. But luckily for some of the newer actors, they kind of gave us a screen test or like a, an opportunity to try out a scene with cameras just to know what the whole setup's like, because it moves quick. Like it moves very, very quick. For like a two-hander scene, say it's 2 pages long, from stepping onto set to walking off set, that includes line runs, blocking, and like shooting the wide and a few close-ups and a couple of mids, like 45 minutes. It happens so quick. It's the opposite of theater, where we have weeks and weeks to do something and then weeks more to like refine it in performance. It was a real like mental challenge to...
With that scale of writing that you've got to work with, and it comes in pieces and you're shooting pieces, how much preparation do you need to have? I mean, assuming the night before you get on set, do you feel like there's a lot of pressure to get as many lines down as possible?
Absolutely, but I got so quick at it. Like at first I was like, the lines wouldn't really sink in, but then as we kept going, it's like even now, I think it really exercised a muscle that hadn't been exercised before. Like I could always memorize things for players, sure, but like this was just like, how do I quickly kind of upload, produce, and then like put aside? And it's this constant cycle of like, fill it up, do it, and then move it aside and like keep going, and you can't really question it. It was a great exercise in being like not super self-conscious, I guess. It's kind of just like making a strong, bold choice and then like sticking to it, which
that's interesting.
Informed theater work after that in a really good way, I think.
It's really interesting thinking about the mechanics of whatever that's happening in the brain, because it's so much that's happening. And soap opera is always kind of culturally considered kind of a lower art form.
Sure.
Yeah. We all understand that.
Yeah, there's always a moment when I'm like, I was on Neighbours and people, they have a certain reaction. It's like, sure.
But as someone who was, in the whole system and had it, becoming alive for a year, I'm sure you have a completely different way of perceiving.
Absolutely. I have the utmost admiration for the writers. I don't know how, and I said that to the executive producer and the writers many times. I was like, I don't know how you guys keep going, how you keep coming up with these ideas. And actors too, it's like some of those people have been doing it for decades, like 30 years, and they would just deliver like at the drop of a hat. The other wonderful thing about working there was like, there wasn't an anxiety amongst people of like, oh, what's next? Where, everyone was just there. It was a beautiful environment to work in because people were calm and assured, and there wasn't like what will I do next month? Or like,
all right.
There wasn't the usual kind of worries.
The usual sad job. The usual setting.
We meet someone, they're like, oh yeah, sure. What's coming up? What's this? What's that? Let me get on that.
Yeah.
It was kind of just like, we're here and we're doing this. And that's it. And it was actually, that was really...
So that's actually more focused than normal on the set.
And there was a routine. I actually really liked it. It was almost like 9 to 5, you go to the studio, you shoot for a day, or you go to location, shoot for a day, and that's your day done.
But you left the show after a period that you set yourself.
Yes, yeah.
You didn't want to kind of just go on with it.
Yeah, I think I wanted to do 6 months to a year, and in the end I did a year, and no regrets at all. I loved it.
And why didn't you do 3 years, 5 years?
I think, I'm like, I'm 32 now, and I thought if I was on there for 3 years, by the time I finished, I'd be in a kind of strange age, potentially. I don't know if it's true or not. It's just what was kind of on my mind. So I felt like a year to learn the job, the format, and how to work on TV really well. And then be available for whatever else there might be. Yeah.
And then you came out and then you had a very meaty role. We all saw you in Sydney. Was it January, February?
Yeah. February of 2025.
Yeah, February.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get timelines.
A&E had some 4,000 miles.
Yes.
Yeah, it was, for me, very satisfying to see a person of color be so central to that kind of American story, first of all. And I was very impressed by your work in it. I think if you read my review, it was sent.
It was the review.
And I hope when you were performing it that you could feel that you were doing really great? Did you feel that confidence when you were on the stage?
Honestly, not always. Some nights, yes. Other nights, no. Like, I think it was kind of the first time I'd been on stage that much. So a lot of the time I didn't quite know how it was going.
Even if you've had a few good nights,
yeah,
you would still have the doubt.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh.
And maybe that's just a me thing. I don't know. Like, I truly don't know. But overwhelmingly, like, the feedback was great. So it's like, in that event, it's like, oh, maybe I'm unreliable because I was in the middle of the situation. I'll take other people's word for it, because why would they lie? You know? Like, yeah, I think it was a lesson in being, like, gentle on myself and being like, you know, because there's no point self-flagellating. Like, you just, and the reviews and what people said were lovely. So ultimately I feel good, but at the time, I didn't know.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like, I think most actors, actually that's not fair. I think a lot of actors do kind of use that as some kind of fuel, from what I've noticed.
Right.
The kind of insecurity of it.
Right. Yeah.
And from my experience, sometimes it's so inbuilt into that character. The way that character, in your case, there's a lot of trauma in there. So this person is not having a great time.
Not at all from the beginning.
Yeah. So it almost makes sense that even if the character is very well, the actor is very well prepared, the showing has been going for a bit, but because there's something that's so essential about the character that's so insecure, it's almost impossible to expect your performance, like if you're inhabiting that character, to kind of have a security that the character doesn't.
Absolutely.
How did you feel about telling that story about kind of someone very young and someone very old? In this case, is your character's grandmother.
Yes. Yeah.
Having this really surprising bond. That's my experiencing.
It was wonderful, you know, and it's one of the reasons why I said yes to doing the play. I think that's a connection that, like, at least in Australia, you don't see a lot. Maybe in Western society, you don't see a lot. In India, like, I grew up, I was essentially, like, spend every day after school with my grandma.
Also, you have that in your parents.
Absolutely. And I lost both my grandmothers kind of in the last, somewhere in the last 7 to 10 years. But yeah, I think there was something in me that, like, kind of missed that, what that connection feels like, what that tenderness feels like, and what that perspective difference is, you know.
Were you nervous stepping into it, you know, going head to head with a stage icon, Nancy Hayes, like a legit stage icon?
Yeah, I was terrified.
Because you know you have to find this chemistry.
Yeah.
And the chemistry was incredible. I don't know if anybody would even expect that it was going to get that real, but it felt so close.
It really did. Yeah.
How did it happen?
It just happened. I think we're just, you know, from the first time we met to shoot the poster, like, at Sydney Theatre Company.
So you didn't meet at like a casting?
No.
Wow.
We met on the day of the poster shoot. And yeah, we shook hands, and I don't know, we just saw in each other that, like, Nancy's a very beautiful, soft-spoken, like, has absolute conviction and power, but it's just, there's something about us that's maybe just clicked, you know, at that moment there. And honestly, I feel like we didn't have to work at that chemistry. It was just kind of happened in a beautiful way. I think it's also because we're two actors on a stage with not many other people. So it's like, you have to, you know, like, you have to really be there with that person, or else what's the point?
Do you think, having gone through that experience, right, and having felt that chemistry, it is something that you can turn into a technique? Is it possible?
I mean, I think so. I guess that's the acting element of it. But yeah, I don't know if I have a good answer for that.
I was blown away by that. And I just thought, how do these people who look so different from completely different times get together and pretend to be grandmother and grandson and be so compelling and believable? That was magic. That play was so tender. Yeah. How did you feel? I once played a character that had a lot of pain, and nobody warned me that it kind of attacks you as the person.
It does. Hey, yeah, I didn't expect it either, to be honest.
So how was that? Because you were sitting in that character for like 2-3 months, 3 months.
Yeah, through rehearsals and beyond that. I don't know. I think maybe part of it is in the like insecurity you were talking about, or me thinking like, I don't know how this is going. I think it was probably only after it finished that I was kind of like, I'm back. What's up, everyone? You know, but like for some time there, I think you have to like, it's not like I was method or, do you know what I mean? Like I don't want to make it sound like it's any of that at all, but I think you have to empathize and you have to sit in an imaginary situation for it to ring true. And yeah, something about that definitely took me down a kind of wormhole of, and I was like, just generally, I don't know, like, kind of a sad person for a little bit, you know, because those things were always percolating in my mind. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing, and aunt once told me that the body doesn't know the difference.
I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah,
I spoke to a friend during that, and they really put it into perspective for me. They were like, it's a crazy thing that actors have to do, and it is. Like, you could be, you know, at whatever 9:30 p.m. You could be going to a war, literally going to a war in a theater, or like killing your children, or like whatever it is, like these extreme situations that we come up with. And then the curtain goes down, and at like 9:45, you're in the bar. She's like, "Oh, hey, mate, how's it going? Nice to see you." And there's very little, like, you're up here, and then suddenly you have to meet everyone down at this level, out there in the world. And that's an interesting jump to me.
And is that easy for you?
I think it can be. You know, but it's always this weird thing of like, you live this kind of extraordinary moment, and then you're in the absolute ordinary of like, oh, what's in the fridge? Like, what have we got? I didn't go shopping yesterday. Like, I
find that a very cathartic experience, actually, because you're in that extraordinary space all the time. That your real life doesn't have to be filled with drama.
Absolutely not. Actually, the quieter, the better. I find it's like, I really value peace. And like,
you were saying that you had relationships with your grandmothers when who were in India.
Yes.
So you were born in Mumbai.
I was born in Mumbai. Yeah.
Tell me about your geographical journey.
My geographical journey. So I was born in Mumbai, which is kind of southwest India. I moved to Bangalore, where my dad and his side of the family used to live. When I was 2.5, mum and dad split up, and me and I moved back to Mumbai. I lived there till I was 7, and then mum met my stepdad, who got a job in Hong Kong. Then we moved to Hong Kong in 2001.
What age was that?
I was 7, I think. Yeah, 7 or just about 10, 8, something like that. And I lived in Hong Kong till 2011, and then I came to Brisbane to do a theatre internship, and then started NIDA in the National Institute of Dramatic Arts in Sydney in early 2012.
What was Hong Kong like? I'm assuming as like a teen, your kind of formative teen years.
Yeah.
What was it like experiencing Hong Kong at that age?
Incredible. Like, Hong Kong is a wild city at the best of times, and we were like kids, just high in life, just absolutely running wild. Looking back on it, like, we were absolutely, like, kind of terribly behaved, but like, it was a great place to grow up. It's, you know, it's super safe. We'd hike all the time. We'd go swimming at the beach. We started going out very young, like, you know, getting into clubs and like just we lived very hard and like kind of grew up very quickly, I think. Yeah.
And then you gave that up to come to Brisbane.
Yeah. Which in my head at that time, I thought was this huge city. I was like, oh, Brisbane, like,
from Hong Kong.
Yeah. I had no concept of Australia or what. In my head, like, you know, Australia, everywhere was like a mega city, bigger than Hong Kong. And yeah, I just remember being like, oh man, like, big city life, I've got to really like step up. And I got to Brisbane, which was beautiful, but like middle of the day in the CBD, there's like no one around. I was like,
so at such a young age, you left home.
I was 18. Yeah.
Literally for career.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unusual. You know that?
Yeah, I think at the time I didn't, but yeah, the more I kind of tell people, the more I realize. Yeah.
And Brisbane, because you encountered a Brisbane company at school, is that
the same company that did The Tempest?
Mm.
Yes. And, I was like really attached. I was like, what do I do? How do I keep doing this to like come do our internship in Brisbane? And so I auditioned, like via self-tape, which was very unheard of back then. Wrote an application, whatnot, and got accepted and did that for 6 months.
And that was the start of your time in Australia.
Yeah.
Did you know it was going to last that long?
No, at that time, no. I thought I would audition for NIDA and WAPA VCA. And I didn't expect to get in. I thought I'd go to the States or the UK, try my luck there. In the meantime, Mum was like, get a real degree, get a real degree, get a real degree.
Well, you got a degree.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. In the end, I got my degree. Bachelor of Dramatic.
Yeah. one of the best ones.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
Why? How do I put this nicely? Because Australia is not the easiest place for actors of color. And you were not born here, you weren't necessarily tethered to here.
Yeah.
How did it become that you would be an Australian-based actor?
Yeah, I don't think I knew that wasn't necessarily the plan, but I'm glad it's happened the way it has.
Was there ever thought of going back to Hong Kong or India?
Hong Kong, not so much. My Cantonese is not good enough. For mine, it needs a level work. But yeah, India definitely, and that's still, still an option. Something I'd love to explore, definitely. But the UK and the US still interest me. But yeah, it kind of just happened that I got in, and you don't question stuff. You just kind of like, if it's going good, you believe in that.
I've never had a real conversation with you. I think we've had a few like highlights over the years.
Yeah.
And in preparation for today, I was thinking, what is Shiv's accent like when he's not on stage?
Mm-hmm.
And I find it quite Australian.
Right.
Do you feel like that was a conscious training of it?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think it was my first week in NIDA, and our voice teacher really kind of put the fear of God in a way. Like, I made a sound, we were working on consonants or something, and I was 18, like super impressionable. And she was kind of like, if you sound like that, you will never work in this country.
First week of school.
And, like looking back, that's an awful thing to do to someone. Absolutely. And I don't think it was an effortful thing. I think a lot of people think my accent's pretty flat or neutral or something. Like, people are like, are you American or British? Like, I guess it's the international school thing as well. But yeah, I think somewhere in the back of my mind, that thing about accent throughout drama school was kind of present. And yeah.
Did you find at some stage you found that, people don't look at me as a foreigner because my voice has changed? I'm only asking that from personal experience.
Yeah. When I first moved here, and that was like 2011, 2012, I still got the like, wow, your English is so good, which like that really shocked me. And at that time, I'd be like, yeah, so good, thank you. You too. That was a great way to just how to like end that conversation and not go into the. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what people think of me truly. I think it's hard because I think that's the thing of having a kind of like, it's not even third culture, it's like fourth culture at this point. Like, I'm a foreigner in India when I go back. I'm a foreigner in Hong Kong. I kind of feel like a foreigner here, but I feel at home in all three places.
Why do you feel like a foreigner in India?
Because like, I don't know, there's just definitely like, I'd be sitting in a rickshaw or like a tuk-tuk and speaking in Hindi to the driver. And he's like, all right, so where are you from? And I'm like, I'm from here. And he's like, no. Like, where are you really from? You have something about you. And I don't know what that is. And my family too in India, they kind of like, they make jokes that I'm like British or white or whatever.
That's good that you
feel interested.
That's good that you feel at home in all these places.
I have to. I think for some time, and that was like part of the mid-20s journey of like not knowing where I was going to live or not knowing, like a lot of that stuff. That anxiety also manifested in like oh wow, like I'm a real stranger everywhere. So I think that there's like, I don't know, a kind of reclaiming of that narrative of like, Actually, I'm not. Actually, I'm at home everywhere. If people choose to see me as a stranger, like that's actually up to them. But I need to, I need to get through this nicely. And it's true. Like I do feel it as business.
You mentioned there was an exacerbation of anxiety to do with your kind of residency status here.
Yeah.
I have experienced that myself.
Sorry. Yeah.
It's really hard. People have no idea how hard it is.
People really don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were beginning work as an actor, I'm assuming, and then at some stage there was some reckoning about the kind of passport that you were holding, or what?
Yeah. Well, I held an Indian passport, and like while I was at NIDA, my now ex-girlfriend and I were doing a partner visa. That was the only way for me to really stay, because as a graduate, you don't get much of a chance. If I'd stayed on my student visa, I wouldn't have even been able to come back for graduation. So that's how quickly they want to kind of grab your cash and kick you out. And they charge you 4 times as much as they do local students. So like, it's kind of a tough go from as an international student from the first moment you get here. It's like everything's kind of stacked against you in many ways. So the partner visa was kind of a viable way to live here, but we split and I withdrew that application. And then I was on a bunch of temporary visas, kind of job to job. So every audition was a lifeline for like the next few months of existence. Through the almighty sometimes in 2018, through Counting and Cracking, it all kind of came to a head in early 2019. And due to, truly negligence on the part of an immigration lawyer, I had to leave because they forgot to submit some of my documents. And so it was this kind of like fork in the road where they're like, oh, you can either submit those documents, but you'll get denied the visa, or you can leave within 28 days. And I was like, well,
and when did you
there's no choice, mate. I went back to Hong Kong.
You went to Hong Kong and did your application stand?
Yes. But even that was so later on in 2019, I came back for the real thing at Sydney Theatre Company, came back for Beauty Queen of Linen, also at the same time. And then had a job lined up at Griffin in 2020, but then COVID hit. And by this time I met my current partner. And so we were we went on this holiday right on the eve of COVID, like March 2020. And that's when my Griffin Theatre Company job got cancelled. And we had to go separate ways. We're together, but we, at the airport in Bali, we said goodbye. And we did not see each other for 15 months, I think, when I came back to Melbourne to shoot Shakthidharan for Apple and Paramount. It's a very long story, but that's all part of the...
And has it resolved now?
Yeah, I got my permanent residency last year.
Last year?
The end of Neighbours.
Oh, that's a long journey.
I know. Yeah.
That's a long journey.
Yeah, no wonder I have fucking anxiety. Yeah. Sorry, can I swear?
Yes, you can. Frame.
Okay, yeah.
Mine was maybe 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
But mine also involved getting kicked out a bit.
It's awful.
Yeah, it's really tough.
Yeah. And it's like, even if you have, and this is the thing, it's like you could have a safe home and space to go back to. It's still awful.
Yeah.
It just makes me really, really think about and feel for the people that don't. People on humanitarian visas that get turned away. Like the kind of heartlessness of the immigration system, really is awful. So in my position at that time during COVID, there was 600,000 people on temporary visas that couldn't come back in. That's 600, that's more than 500,000 people who're still paying rent, or who have relationships, or who had jobs. Like, that's a crazy amount of putting life on hold. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for sharing that. I love that. You mentioned Counting and Cracking a few times.
Yes.
It's a really important theatre production within, the scheme of what we do. And you've had the privilege of performing in it several times, traveled the world with it. Can we talk a little bit about what it means to you, working on that show and what that show represents?
I think Shakti is the writer of Counting and Cracking. He put it really beautifully, and I'm going to, because he's so intelligent, regurgitate his word. It was an act, a radical act of belonging, I think. And I truly believe that. Yes. For everyone, and not just for the cast, for the company, for the industry, and, the audiences. I think for me, it was in the middle of all of this stuff that I just, was kind of talking about. it was kind of like having this beautiful community around me. But then to see also the effects of like people walking out of the theater, 3 generations, grandparents talking to their kids, who were then talking to their kids about their individual experiences of their journey from Sri Lanka to here. To see theater actually have an impact. I think we talk a lot in theater about the impact it's having. And it's like, we always wanted to, but it's questionable how many times it actually does. But I like wholeheartedly can say that this show did and has and will continue.
How did it work? Like, we often see, there are a lot of shows that have stories around people of color's experiences more and more, which is a real plus for our, for what we do.
Yeah.
But we don't always get the relevant people watching.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with Counting and Cracking, something culturally was different about that show.
It really was. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think was different? How did it reach out to the right people?
Yeah, I think more than just being for a certain group of people, it was really marketed at a grassroots level through community. Through the network of aunties and uncles. You know what I mean? It's like once you get the aunties talking, it filters down. And once a few like matriarchs or something see it, that word travels quick.
So it's about not relying only on the usual channels.
Yeah, not your websites or social media or whatever it might be. I think it's like actually telling people that like, hey, this is for you and about you. And I think what also assured people was that it wasn't just taking one perspective, because it's, it tells of many, many years and many complex issues in one country. 2 countries really. But yeah, I think where its strength lies is that it offers up questions rather than trying to be like, oh no, this is the way it happened. It really, in a beautiful way, invites people to discuss.
Did you feel like you were connecting a lot with that show?
100%. Yeah. And every time, I've done it now 3 times. 2019 was the first time, 2022 was the second, and 2024 was the most recent.
And where were the places? Name the places.
First time was Sydney and Adelaide for the Sydney Festival and Adelaide Festival. Second time around was Edinburgh for the International Festival, and Birmingham for the Commonwealth Games Arts Festival. The third time around was Sydney, Melbourne, and New York.
Incredible. Yeah. Incredible. Edinburgh and New York. Did aunties, uncles come?
Yeah, absolutely. In New York, there was like one day where we had, I think they'd come up from Seattle, like they'd hired a bus. And even in Edinburgh, people from London
because they heard about this show.
Yeah, and they like actually showed up in a like fucking beautiful way. It was incredible. It was incredible.
How wonderful.
Yeah.
Because I'm always struggling with the idea that, we come from cultures of storytelling and theater.
Yes.
But the format of it is so different here that it feels exclusionary.
Yeah.
And I often wonder, how do we speak to more people from our background? Because it's not as if we don't understand theater. It's just that the way it is presented here can be, a little bit alienating.
Sure.
And I did remember Counting and Cracking that first time, of how there was a lot of effort of making. First of all, it wasn't in a conventional theater space. It was at City Town Hall, which felt like an emblem of community.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then it was set up with the space was dressed up in a way that felt not very Australian. Do you remember how? Yeah, they were kind of individual chairs. They were kind of
like bench seating
chairs.
Democratic, I'd say. Well, the idea was it was a Sri Lankan town hall.
Yeah.
But also kind of like, the way a House of Parliament might be structured. It's like from the audience, I'd love to be in that audience actually. Yeah. Because you do see across the bench basically, and you see other people's reactions to things.
And the traditional musicians were a central part of that. So they were in eyeshot all the time. Yeah. These I'm assuming Sri Lankan musicians with their own instruments, they were lit, and you could see them performing.
Absolutely.
And they just formed a kind of an atmosphere that was different from what we usually see here.
Definitely. Yeah.
Wow. And were they able to create that same thing wherever you went?
Yes.
The same vibe?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's down to the musicians. Like, I really I believe that that's like the soul of the piece. You know, it's like, I think with pre-recorded tracks, it would still obviously be a powerful piece of work, but having that kind of like other level of exchange, apart from just actor to actor and then audience, it's like you're also going with like them and they're playing off us. It's incredible. Yeah.
You don't always play Asian characters. You know, like most of the time you don't play characters as specifically like an Asian experience.
Sure, yeah.
But the first time I saw you in 2016 was, I remember this great play. I love that play. It's so subversive. It's called Disgrace.
Yes.
And my memory is not great, but it is about Indian Americans.
Yeah, well, a Pakistani American lawyer who, in the kind of fallout of 9/11, hides his religion and pretends to be Indian or Hindu because he doesn't, because of the anti-Muslim sentiment for sure. Yeah.
I remember that show because I thought the text was very rich and very exciting. And at that time, you know, we didn't get very many stories about, you know, the Asian diaspora very much. So it was really exciting for me. But probably something else that was very memorable was kind of a fallout from that. There was a bit of a scandal. And I think 2016 was also, you know, when the Me Too movement happened and everything. And it was all related. But I think because it was early in the Me Too movement, we didn't quite know how to discuss it. We were still in that old way of kind of sweeping things under the rug a little bit. Yeah. When you look back at that, how do you think how do you remember that moment?
It's kind of surreal because it was my first, you know, professional, like main stage job. I don't think I knew until tech that something was awry. So I think when you say sweeping things under the rug, a lot of stuff was kept from the cast. And then, I like, what I'm also led to believe is that the incoming performer who was replacing a cast member was also not told the full truth of the situation they were walking into. So it was kind of this very strange standoff. And for me, as, I don't know, a very young professional at that time, a very steep learning curve of like, always, I don't know, just to like have integrity or something, or just to learn what to do in a workspace and that honesty is good and transparency is good and things like that. I think there was a lot of stuff that was, like leading us in the dark only kind of encouraged all the rumors and things that were happening.
Right.
Like, because everyone was just guessing at what was going on. And I think, and absolutely power to them, you know, the statement that came out of that situation and King Lear, the document that was put together by Sophie Ross and EJ at Engine One, which kind of, you know, really spoke to these issues publicly for the first time in Australia. Those were all very important moments, and I think they were like so brave to go through something. Also,
so you only got clarity after the fact.
Yeah, I think so. Or like, you know, once we moved on to Canberra, I think we were Sydney, Wollongong, Canberra on that tour. Yeah.
So you weren't sort of.
We had a few shows cancelled when we were told it was an illness. Which
but you were swirling in rumor and.
And some of the older actors on the play, like I was kind of like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, you know, like I feel like I was the last to know, kind of in the. Maybe in people trying to protect the younger person or something. Yeah.
I wonder what had
situation.
I wonder what would have been the right thing to do in that situation. Do you think about them?
I do, and I think, it probably comes from like a company management type of thing of being transparent with all the cast of what's happened and what's going to happen moving forward. I actually don't think it's a complicated. It's an awful thing for, you know, the person involved, obviously. But I think in terms of, going forward from it, I actually, if you're just honest and you literally state the facts of what has happened and what will now happen, that's it. Like,
I think people don't have taken that big step of, kind of coming out, speaking out against it and speaking out of personal experience. Obviously, it unimaginably hard. I think the change is quite a big change that has happened. Especially when it casts back my mind back to that time when everything internationally was happening about gender and about kind of sexual violence and that sort of thing at work and in the performing arts. Do you feel like so that was your first main stage play and you're still working in that space? Do you witness the transformation culturally?
I think so, yeah. And it wasn't overnight. I think even a production I did in 2019, there was a moment where like we were kind of asked to perform intimacy. And I was expecting to just happen.
Right.
And I quickly ran to the other actor before this, we had to do the scene. I was kind of like, hey, we're just about to do, like, this is kind of crazy, but like, what are you okay with? Like, what are your boundaries? Like a quick, like now that's just part of our daily kind of intimacy check-ins. That felt like, I was like, whoa, I've just got to do this thing now. But so I think the change was slow. And I think, now there's clear language around things. And I think intimacy is choreographed kind of the same way that fights are. And I think that's absolutely right. Because it's like, it's not just about the intimacy. It's like, what story are you telling? And if you're not on the same page, telling it in the right way, then the power dynamic's off. You know what I mean? And I think that's intimacy coordination is a good leveler for all that.
That is wild, man. Thinking about that intimacy coordination is a new thing.
It's a new job. Yeah.
4th century. Totally. People just go,
yeah. Yeah.
So we're now almost at the end of 2025.
Yeah.
And as we were doing our faces, our makeup, you told me that you are doing an independent play.
Yes.
It's not your first time doing an independent play, but it will be my first time seeing you doing an independent show. Is it humbling?
Look, I think work is work, like I'm sure humbling in the ways that I'm like, oh, I'm really trying and doing all this. Yeah. And then at the end of the week, that paycheck doesn't come in. And I'm like,
yeah.
But like, I think, I've kind of always loved the job. And it doesn't feel different. It's like we're still in there trying to figure out what the new writing, like where it sits and how to, how to wrestle it into something for people. And I think we're actually onto something very good.
I think so. This show is Life is a Dream.
Yes.
It's going to be at 25A very soon.
Yeah.
And judging by what 25A has been doing, it's consistently very high quality work. Sell us a show.
The show is about, a royal family. That's kind of let's call it an upstairs, downstairs.
Where are they?
They're in Poland.
Oh,
tangential. I don't think we refer to it.
Okay.
But it's an adaptation of an old Spanish play, which is kind of like a morality play. But there's a royal family, a king and his kids, and there's a secret sibling that has been locked away the original, it's in a cave on a mountain somewhere. Because there was a prophecy that this child was dangerous and would kill the whole family and bring ruin on the royalty. And on the dad's 60th birthday, one of the younger siblings finds out about this secret other sibling and is about to confront the dad. But the dad on the 60th birthday kind of wrangles it all. He's like, no, let the boy out. And then it ensues in a kind of like chaotic dinner party-esque second act.
Funny,
heartbreaking. It's really like we just ran it through today for the first time, and it's beautiful. I think and ugly. Like you really see how people and their egos can. Yeah, I don't know. Come see it. I hope you like it.
I really encourage people to get a ticket because one of the most interesting things about 25A, aside from really really great shows, there is the tickets are always $25.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when the show is good,
it's a great ticket.
Yeah. When the first reviews come out and it's strong, they sell out really quick. So I'd love people to get a ticket soon. But I also know that you've got a show next year, which we can talk about because this episode doesn't drop till much later than now.
Okay.
So I don't know anything. Break it to me.
I will be back at Belvoir in the upstairs theatre. And with Shakti again, for a remount of The Gentleman in the Sea.
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah.
Oh my!
And I wasn't in it the first time around, so I'm so excited to jump on board.
Did you see it?
I saw it. I was in tears in the first 2 minutes when Shakti's mom was doing about Natyam, like a beautiful dance.
She was so good and it's coming back.
Me too. And I'm like so thrilled to be a part of it. I can't wait.
Oh my god! I cannot wait. Thank you so much, She.
Thank you. Wow. Thanks for having me.